Well, good morning, everybody. Early bird investors who are joining us here on this Saturday morning. Welcome to one of our Getting Started or Getting Around Manifest Investing series. My name is Mark Robertson, founder and managing partner of Manifest Investing, and I'm joined here today by Kurt Kowitz, our technology manager. And Kurt's going to actually conduct something of a guided tour, give you a little bit of an update on some of the stuff that's going on, but mostly show you the methods and the techniques that most of our subscribers find most useful in either the management, the building and design, or the management of their personal portfolios or their investment club portfolios operating as a group. So with that, we'll go ahead and turn it over to Kurt. Take it away, sir.
Well, good morning, everyone. And let me change presenter really quickly. So we'll be working right from the website. I'm not going to work from slides and try and demonstrate how things work. So typically on these, I will walk us right through the site. And in the past, our nav bar was fairly static. The links that everybody saw were all the same. Unfortunately, that didn't work very well when people try to read our site on a phone. So during our current redesign, or I suppose our last redesign of the site, the nav bar now changes. So if you're viewing our site from a phone, you will see three little bars up in the corner, and that will expand your navigation. If you're viewing this on a slightly smaller monitor, you might not see the sidebar that's on the right side of the page, and some of our navigation elements will nest underneath a different drop-down. But all of the links are on every nav bar. You might just have to click one of the different tabs, typically publications or research. So I'll leave it at this size, though I'm not going to try and scale it around to show you how it changes. But feel free to drag your browser around smaller, make it smaller, and you can see what I'm talking about on your own. To get to the home page, you can always click on Manifest Investing, and that'll get you right back here. We've got a few resources, typically our featured posts, and if you scroll down, you'll find our latest issue of Expected Returns. The little PDF icon on the issue pages will give you a downloadable PDF of the issue that Mark puts together. Also on the home page and on many of our pages, we'll show you my PAR, the Manifest Investing PAR, and the current sweet spot. And if you click on either of these two little question marks, you'll see a legend. This legend's available on many pages, typically from the My PAR box. It's also available on the dashboard page as a button that says legend. So if you're on a page and you're wondering what does that blue mean, you'll find out what blue means, or any of the other things that are listed on this are typically used on either company names or color coding or what the PAR value means. So that can come in handy. I'm going to jump from that to help, since that's typically the second place you might want to go if you have a question. If you click on My Account, or if you're on a smaller screen, if you click on the three bars that would be up in the upper corner, you can get to the help page, and we'll have a few more links here. We'll be expanding this more and trying to put together more of, I guess, a whole getting started program now that the current revision of the website is more or less finalized and we've worked out many of the bugs. So that'll come, but over on the sidebar you'll have a link to our existing user's guide, which does need to be updated. A short getting started walkthrough of the site, much like what we're going to do today, a guide on StockSearch, and our glossary of terms. If we have or say something during this webinar, or you see it on a page and you're not quite sure what it means, we have a fairly extensive guide of what our terms mean. It might not be extensive to all terms, but you could always go to something like Investopedia if you're wondering about what a specific investment term means. Or I think another word, one is InvestWords. So account, help, or glossary will get you here.
Kurt, just real quick, some of the people are asking whether this will be recorded. We are recording the session and we'll make it available later. So those of you that have to leave partway through, you can come back and see what we covered after you had to leave. Thanks, Kurt.
Yep. Virtually all of our online events and webinars are recorded, and we try and post them fairly quickly. Sometimes it takes me a little bit longer, but last recording we had, it was available the next day. So I'll try and make this one available fairly quickly as well. Since our focus is typically on companies, stocks, this search symbol or name right here will take you to a stock of your choice. You can either search by symbol or a partial name or anything that might pull up a company for you. We'll demonstrate more of that shortly. We have a few of our upcoming events on the sidebar and what we call published dashboards. These are dashboards that typically Mark has added to the site and then has clicked on publish and public, and then we make them available here. To find other dashboards that people have made public, you can come to this page. So from the Manifest Investing homepage, scroll down, click on more, and you'll find other dashboards that people have published on the site. Our default search looks for people who are administrators, so Mark Robertson, myself, Ken Kowitz, but you can always search for anything from that drop-down. So our next tab, Publications, covers the issue, expected returns, any articles, and at this resolution, events. And if you have a slightly wider screen resolution, events would be somewhere over here between forum and search. So we'll start with expected returns. We have a 10-year history of issues of expected returns going back to our first one. You can always come here as a resource and look at old issues of expected returns. Each page also has a link to the PDF and a link to each of the articles within that issue. You can get to many of these articles, all of them, from the articles page as well. This will show it by categories, so it'll show you our categories of articles, cover stories, stock selections, mutual fund selections, and so forth. All the way down here at the bottom is a category that we'll be expanding called Guides, and one that might be helpful for getting started, Clubhouses. Ken Kowitz has written a number of Clubhouses and the issues of expected returns for the past few months, and those are all available. Scroll up and just grab our cover. So each of our articles is available as an individual article, also through the PDF of the issue that it was in. From the issue pages, or article pages, excuse me, the author names are linked, and much like any other site, you can click on the author name to find more that that author has written. The majority of our articles are written by Mark Robertson, so his archive page will be quite long. Down at the bottom, we also have another link to Mark, and if there's another author, Ken Kowitz, we often provide a link to their email address. So if you want to communicate with some of the authors who've written content for the site, you might find more at the footer. Since it's on this tab here, I'll show you our event page quickly. Most of you probably found this since you're all at one of our events, but I just wanted to point out the little icons that show that we have a recording of the event. If you click on any page with that, it will load the recording. You can also find them on the forum or directly through YouTube, but I won't demonstrate that at this point. Our research page, our research drop-down, will be probably the bulk of what you might use the site for. Company, fund, our top 40, and my studies. We'll start with companies today. The company page defaults to a quick stock search based on, I believe, have we switched this, Mark? Is it just the
I don't believe we switched it,
Manifest
Kurt.
rank?
I think you put it together based on Manifest rank, so it's going to be the combination of those two characteristics.
So I think we're doing this based on a rank of the top companies at Manifest.
Right.
And it's just a quick screen to get started. There's also the stock search, which is a different method, but you can go through and filter this by sector or industry. Any of these fields can be clicked on to resort. So if we want to sort it by quality. And from the sidebar, we'll demonstrate it this time. We can find a company and quickly pull up that company. So from a company page, or what we call an equity analysis guide, there's a quick feature that Mark always likes to demonstrate, is this little spyglass. Clicking on this spyglass will take you to our search page, which will provide article results and forum posts for that company. Something I just didn't want to forget about. We'll talk about alerts in a moment. We've just released this feature, and we can add alerts for companies now. On the company page, typically we focus on quality and par. There's also a confusing term down here called calculated quality. Calculated quality is simply the sum of these values right here. Then we take those scores for all companies in the database, and then we rank them now. So a quality of 88 is this calculated quality ranked against all other companies in the database. Anything I got wrong on that, Mark? It's the most common question I have on the equity analysis guide these days.
Oh yeah, you've got it right. It's basically just a weighting of or a ranking of the quality ratings. One of the things we probably should do, Kurt, is make that quality rank in the legend or the column header up at the top. Right. I'm talking about on this page right there. That should probably say quality rank. That might eliminate some of the confusion. But there is an article about a year ago where we described the change.
On companies where we have enough history, you'll also find a chronicle. This is simply tracking the things that you see up here in the legend, the projected return, the price, the quality, the par, and you can mouse over any of it to get the exact values. This just sort of shows you a history of how this company has done over time. It might give you some insight on the direction that the company is headed at this point. Full caps, excuse me. We added this years ago. We probably need to revisit and make sure it's still meaningful, but Fool Caps is from the Motley Fool, and they track basically players who believe this company is either going to outperform or underperform, and we use that in some of our stock research or screening tools. You can also visit the Caps page and find out more about what the Motley Fool believes the company is doing, and we'll probably try and expand our links to other resources for articles and information on companies in a re-release of this page that's probably coming up in the next few months. We offer many of the same features for funds. The default page for funds is simply a list of funds that we cover. And for any given fund, you can find details about the fund and holdings of the fund. A recent addition to the fund page is we've been tracking fund history for years as well now, so we've started adding chronicles for those as well. A new feature on the new release is the constantly updated top 40. This is simply the top 40 holdings within dashboards of active members at Manifest Investing. You can always see what people are looking at. These trend fairly slowly. They change over time, but I don't think it's very dramatic. But as companies wane, you'll see them drop down the list, and you'll see chargers, as Mark likes to put it, that are coming up the list. So it might be a good idea or a good resource for finding ideas for companies to study. My Studies is simply a way to audit our expectations. You can start a new study from the sidebar. Oops, I already have this one.
Going back to the same companies you always go to.
Yeah. Well, these are companies that are in my holdings, so I have quite a few of them now. We'll just assume that we did Pepsi here, so we'll show Pepsi. From this, I clicked on the wrong one, Microsoft. So from this you can either edit it, we can reset it, which I haven't touched this for a while, so we'll reset it to start and pull in fresh data. And then any of these little green boxes will take you to the edit form where you can edit any of the values and add notes for it. Mark might be able to explain this page a bit better, and we'll probably do a better job of adding a tutorial for this as well. Can you take just a minute to describe it, Mark?
Sure. You know, what you're basically looking at is the foundation of manifest investing. We basically believe that the two most important characteristics for any company are the quality and the return forecast. Well, this is basically breaking down the return forecast into its components. And if you've been around here for a while, you know that we take any company, and what's on display here is on the left-hand side, it's a column of information that is current day statistics, current sales, you know, trailing 12 months, along with the current profitability and PE ratios and all that kind of stuff. That's all going down the left side. And then on the right-hand side, you basically have a listing of all the stuff 5 years out. We use a constant 5-year time horizon for everything that we do. So in this case, you're looking at Microsoft today versus 5 years in the future. Now, what you could do, and Kurt, why don't you go ahead and demonstrate this? If you've studied the company and you've looked at all your resources, click into the sales column and the sales annual rate box. And let's go ahead and change it. Let's say you did your study and you really believe that Microsoft is going to grow at 10% instead of 7.7. You would basically enter that 10, and let's just go ahead and capture that. You can basically compare the result, the return forecast at 7.7% versus 10%. You can do your own sensitivity analysis, and you could change any of the parameters. So what many subscribers will do is they'll take the analyst consensus that's displayed here, come in and do their own audit, their own expectations and judgments for the sales growth forecast, the net margin forecast, and the future PE, and just kind of balance those versus what we're seeing from the consensus. Keep in mind that the consensus includes the expectations of places like Value Line, Morningstar, S&P, you know, the analyst consensus that's published on Finance Yahoo, and a few other things. So this is your opportunity to you know, input your own expectations, and like Kurt said, do your own little audit or trust and verify the study.
The drop-down is somewhat important here. When you come back to a study, you can update the price and reset the eagle or delete it. So when you want to take another look at it, these two buttons become important. For now, I'll just delete to demonstrate that. Many of the items that you can do, stock searches, dashboards, eagles, can all be deleted. And while we do archive data, I would not recommend deleting things that you later want to get back. It's a chore to try and restore data from a database, but we will do our best if you make a mistake and delete everything that you perhaps want. Yeah. I think I've had to do that once in the past for someone.
Kurt, the other thing we might point out here is, you know, take Amgen as the top example there. What you have right there is a side-by-side comparison of the analyst consensus, that's the top line, and then the inputs from your own study. So he's going to reset it, and then if you go back to your to show your studies, your library of studies, what you basically have is side by side a comparison of the analyst consensus versus your own audit, your verification.
So in that case, I switched our growth from the expectation to 10%, and we can see the impact on the par. Moving along, since we only scheduled about 40 minutes for this one, we'll talk about stock searches. In this case, any of your saved stock searches, there's a limit. I believe I only show 10 of them. Will show up right here on the drop-down, or we can always start a new stock search. I'll quickly show managed searches. If you've saved any, you can go to managed searches and see those criteria with a name and what you've done in the past, and we can edit any of those. When you start a new stock search, The name field decides whether or not that stock search will be saved for you to come back later and take a look at it. You can always filter by sector or industry, but I typically come down here and do a very simple screen using the sweet spot. That's our existing sweet spot. If you save this and come back later, this will use the sweet spot from that day. So you don't have to constantly try and come back and say, well, what's the sweet spot today? All right, I'll put that in. And 16.1, that'll help you get around that. So I typically use the sweet spot. And we'll come down to manifest rank. And we'll look for companies that are ranked right near the top and see if we have any today. So that's one of my favorite starting screens. It doesn't take many criteria, and you typically get a list of very high quality companies to look at right away. It'll show you the criteria on the sidebar, and we can go back and revise that, perhaps not use the sweet spot. And instead maybe incorporate some outside input, what people at CAPS believe, and see if we get any results. My one recommendation for StockSearch is that you only use a few fields. While we will show you examples of every field filled in with perhaps what is a reasonable value, I would recommend trying to limit your stock searches to a few criteria that you feel are important. One thing that we've changed recently, and was it the very latest roundtable, Mark, where Hugh discussed this?
Yeah, it's been the last couple of sessions. He likes to focus on companies that are within 10 to 20% of their 52-week low, so you can probably just leave that at 10, Kurt. And you might want to put like sweet spot in too or something, but or actually the way he would approach it, and I'll write an article about this, would be very high quality. You put in a quality of like greater than 90 and a stock that is trading within 10% of its 52-week low, even that's a fairly long list. But you can see, keep in mind, part of Hugh's mentality is to shop for extremely high quality companies that are sustainable for the long run that just happen to be have a current damage to their stock price. So this is could be a pretty formidable way to search for some stocks, and he will have much more to say about this going forward also.
That's pretty much everything that we need to talk about for StockSearch. We are more just trying to walk through our features, and with 40 minutes I don't have a lot of time to spend on any one, but what I would like to ask everyone is if you have a specific function at the site that you really want covered in depth, we'd like some feedback on our next Getting Started webinar, and we'll try and focus on one area or perhaps two areas of the site and just do a deep dive and talk about more about the features, more about how they're used, more about making decisions using the features. Dashboards, much like StockSearch, dashboards that you've saved are available from the drop-down. You can go to My Dashboards, and I forgot to put fake data in here, so you'll see one of my smaller accounts and my two boys' college funds. I also use Manifest Investing to make real decisions, so I won't show you my picks, but we'll see dashboards there.
We'll chalk this up to keeping it real.
That's right. Our new dashboard, simply add a name. You can add a description, the text will be provided. In this case, we'll say we have some cash. I mentioned public and private, public and published earlier. If you select public, you'll see publish. That means people can search for your dashboard. Otherwise, publish just means that you can add a string of text at the end of it. So and you'll be able to share a URL of this dashboard with this slug. We'll do that for now. I'll add some of my favorite holdings that Mark just joked about. I only do it because I remember these tickers by heart. And we'll come back and take a look at the advanced options once we've done this. So we'll submit this, and we'll see our holdings with our averages. The portfolio averages are also displayed on the sidebar. If you have a narrower screen, these might be displayed lower down on the page. I would say my second most common question is how to edit a dashboard. This is a button as well. I know some of them up here. The drop-down is the only function. In this case, the edit button actually edits the dashboard. So now that we're back here, we'll show one of our advanced options, and we'll say, you know what, I don't really want to do it this way. I want to track these three companies, and let's hypothetically say I want $300 or $1,000 of each of them.
Put in BRK-B, Kurt.
Oh, great.
Or how about -A?
And this will make more of a watch list for those companies. So we can say at this point in time I bought $1,000 and I wonder how those performed over the next few months. We can see what happened, or we can just mainly use it as a watch list when I'd use that function. Mark uses it quite a bit, I believe.
I use it almost every day.
The other thing that we talked about is making it public. So now we have that public link. If you don't provide a slug, we provide a very random, non-guessable slug. Although if somebody really did want to find that public dashboard, I suppose they could take quite a long time hitting the public URL with strings until they found one.
Okay. Kurt, some of the attendees would like you to reinforce a shared URL. Who can view that?
As we just sort of mentioned, if they're able to guess this last little bit, anybody can view it. I'll go back and we'll edit this, and we'll take out my string of text that I put in and just submit it without. And you'll see that the string is now just a randomized string of characters. We've had a couple of questions, I suppose. The few that we've had here and one other via email about this public string and how public it is. Typically these come from people who are also group subscribers. We have a number of club subscribers, and they're looking for a way to share that dashboard just with the members of their club. And it's on the development board for adding dashboards specific to your club. Instead of as a user going to dashboards and adding a new dashboard, we might have another drop-down, or from your account page being able to select your club, going to dashboards and adding a new club dashboard. So that would take care of the question of, I know that it's public and people probably can't find it, but I really, really, really only want to share this with my club or my group.
Mm-hmm.
It will take me a little bit of time to get back and circle back and get that done, but it should be fairly soon.
Yeah, and a follow-up question. Some people have said that you have to be a member to view that link, and that's not the case. And Butch, basically what we're talking about is a club that might have a couple of people that are not manifest subscribers. That shared link that Kurt is talking about, a public link, if you give them that string that he's describing, they can pull that up. Anybody can. That's why we do it that way.
So I've just signed out and gone back to this public link, and it's not forcing me to sign in. So that's just me clicking on sign in, but you can see I'm not signed in. I don't have a My Account link, and that public dashboard is still available.
Right. So anybody you share it with can see it. I mean, people could stumble onto it on the internet. What clubs will very often use it for is, using that advanced option that Kurt was showing, perhaps share a watch list or a topics list for a club meeting by sharing a link like that.
Since we're on the sign-in page, this is actually my most common question, is you've changed my password or my email address. Rest assured, we never change your password or your email address, but if by chance it's not working for you, the best solution is simply to click on Forgot Your Password. Type in your email address. You'll be sent a link. Click on the link in your email. It'll bring you back to a page where you can change your password and then sign in. If by chance your email address is changed, that would go to your old email address that we have on file, so in that case feel free to contact me and I'd be happy to update your email address so that we can get this sent to the right place. And if all else fails and it does not work, you can't reset your password, feel free to let us know and I can take care of it through our back-end admin. I clicked it out of the way earlier because it was just in my view, but down here you will see, if we haven't clicked on the X like I just did, a pop-up window that you can send questions to us. Many days when I'm online working on the website, I'll be signed into that and we can actually chat and hold a conversation. If I'm not online, it will send me an email and I typically respond to those within a day at the most.
Okay, Kurt, we have a question from Jim Erickson. He'd like you to go back and demonstrate where to retrieve the PDF of expected returns.
It helps when I remember my password. There we go. And the question was again?
Go to the current issue of expected returns and show him where to find the PDF.
From the home page we can find that. It's this little icon here. If you mouse over it, it'll tell you it's the PDF. If you click on it, it should open. Your browser might decide to download it instead of open it.
You switched Ted's picture. Excellent.
We can go to Publications, Expected Returns, and any of these issues will have the little PDF icon as well.
Okay, well, Kurt's demonstrated the most popular and powerful features of Manifest. There's obviously more stuff that we can dig into, but let's go ahead and field a couple more questions. Here's an interesting one. When do you plan to introduce sortable columns? I think they've already been introduced, so let's go ahead.
Any of these columns on many of our tables are sortable. If they're not sortable for you, then your browser might be a bit dated, or JavaScript might be turned off. These are all sorted via JavaScript. The page doesn't actually reload. It simply takes the table that's in the HTML and resorts it and redisplays it for you. So if that's not working for you, I'd be interested in hearing. We might want to know what browser and what version you're using, and we'll try and debug that for you. But it's been fairly reliable for me across browsers that are, I suppose you might say, modern or up-to-date.
Yeah, and in keeping with that theme, Kurt, one of our new subscribers, Shaddam, is saying that he does not see the PDF icon using a Google Chrome browser, so you may want to take a look at that. He's not showing the PDF for expected returns.
Just a quick question then. When I click on this drop-down, over here on the left, do you see a pencil icon, a little couple of paper icons, and an X? If that's not there, then I might have some issues with the font package that displays the little graphics. I probably need to chase that down. So I'll assume that he'll get back to Mark on that question.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I wanted to demonstrate from this before we moved on is the drop-down does have a few other features. A very common question on this page is I can't print it the way I like it. Printing a table of data when you have lots of data and making it just the right size, especially when things like the share price can get very big and the values can get very big, can be troublesome. If you have Excel or any other spreadsheet program, Google Docs is an alternative. You can export the data, quickly open it in a spreadsheet, and then you get to sort and shrink and move all of the columns on your own and print it any way you like. It's always a good option if this page just isn't printing the way you want to see it. If you want to print this page without the charts, hiding that is simply a click away. That's probably all we need to say there. The last function here is the worksheet. The worksheet probably could use a whole discussion in and of itself, but it's a method to sort of what if your dashboard. You can say, what would this dashboard look like if Pepsi wasn't in it? What might it look like if I had more cash, not less cash? Or if I had more shares of this one instead? So you can do what ifs on just about everything in your dashboard. The confusing feature is here that it does not touch your actual dashboard. You can make it so that it does. We can say save it back to the original or save it to the new. And those will do exactly what they say. We can also say, you know what, since I've been tinkering with my worksheet, things have changed on the dashboard, and I want to work from that original dashboard again. And it will reset it to exactly what your dashboard looks like today.
Yeah, a lot of clubs use this for what ifs and for proposals, buy and sell proposals. One of the things that you might demonstrate here, Kurt, as you mentioned doing sessions, we actually do have some pretty good sessions saved on this topic alone, the use of the worksheets. We refer to them affectionately as sandboxes. So if you go to the site search, Kurt, just click through on the search and enter the word sandbox. And this is just a demonstration of how you might find something. The PowerPoint presentation and Clubhouse articles, and there's actually a link to a webcast in this thread. So if you want to spend more time with that subject, go ahead and check it out right here.
So this sort of covers two of the things that I wanted to hit before we hit our time limit today, which was the forum. The forum has tens of thousands of posts now in our 10-year history, and you can get back to all of them. Typically our general discussion has the most current topics and marks This Week at Manifest, which we feature on the homepage quite regularly. But there are other forums, other boards, and down here near the bottom, support and suggestions, of course, one of my favorites since I'm always working on the site and I always love feedback and suggestions. We had a very dated suggestion box. I've replaced that with a new topic. Let me try clicking on it one more time. And I'm going to try and keep this update log more up to date these days so you can see that we're constantly releasing reversions or revisions to the site, changes, improvements. We don't have major releases unless the entire design and framework of the site change. Those typically come about every 3 to 5 years. I don't expect doing another one for 4 or 5 more years, and if I can keep this one functioning without having to do another major revision, I'd be very happy. So just some tidbits. We just quickly covered search. This will search the forum, and it will search article content at the site. You might find a company as well popping up on the sidebar. You might find results from our terms and definitions popping up on the sidebar as well.
Whenever you're explaining quality to colleagues and partners, we recommend that you use the term excellence on a search. If you use quality, you get a million hits. If you use excellence, one of the articles that's going to pop up here is the one describing that rating versus ranking. The second one down there is quality ranked, excellence measured. That actually goes through and describes exactly what Kurt was covering about a half hour ago.
I'm glad I came to this. It reminds me that I wanted to expand this to offer some variations on how you search. This might be a bit confusing. We put the date, but then we don't really sort it by date. The date gets the heaviest weighting in our search results, but it's also sort of mixed in with the number of times the term that you're using is in the discussion. So while date plays a huge role in how these get displayed, it's not the only role. And you can always jump down to see results on the forum. One last time, I'll say the account drop down and help, and you can contact us at either address. Mark and I will be happy to get back to you. So I'm 1 minute over, Mark.
Yeah, you're doing great. We'll stick around now. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep the recording on for the Q&A for this one, if that's okay with you, Kurt.
It's not a problem. So
we do have
go ahead and open it up. I think I've covered every section of the site as thoroughly as I can in 40 minutes, so let's open it up to questions and we'll try and step through some of these.
Yeah, why don't you go back to the home page and demonstrate, we'll click into the Groundhog scoreboard under the published dashboards, and we're still getting a couple requests to demonstrate, so do this really slow. Why don't you go ahead and click into any one of those Groundhog dashboards. John Kimmel's always good. Okay, this is pulling up John Kimmel's selections for this year's current Groundhog contest. And if you go over and let's go ahead and see if we're asking the question, what company has the highest return forecast among John Kimmel's selections, if you click on that column header, it'll sort it from the highest to the lowest par. You can do the same thing. If you ask the question, what's John's hottest growth stock? If you click on the growth column header, it'll sort it top to bottom. Again, highest growth forecast to lowest growth forecast. In this case, the answer is Priceline. So hopefully that demonstrates. You can do that for virtually any of the displayed data tables at Manifest. Is that right, Kurt?
Yes. Any tabular data. For example, if we go to the company page and we say, this is a great list, but I want to see it by growth. It's a great list, but I want to see the company. You can use it there. From StockSearch, you can do it on any StockSearch, for example. The top 40.
Top 40 is a great one to sort by current highest return forecast right now. Again, what you're looking at when you see that display is the 40 most widely followed companies by our community, and the ones with the highest return forecast right now. They're all going to be pretty much high-quality companies.
I'll quickly answer a question here on the star. We see this little asterisk. That's a good one for the legend. We'll click on legend, and it means not covered by Value Line Standard Edition. Mark and I have discussed a change where those little indicators, flags, will switch from being part of the company name to a flag in the database that allows me to display them a little bit differently. So while these stars might show up, hopefully soon you'll be able to mouse over them and get a mouse over tooltip that describes what that means. So much like you can mouse over this, the question mark, and it'll change. Hopefully we'll have that shortly.
Okay, we have a question from Carla. Kurt, could you go over the new alerts? And I think it's a good time to do that. Go in and pick a company, Kurt. And I actually got an alert this morning. Cognizant Technology moved into the sweet spot just this morning. So it must have been above it. The price must have gone up enough to drive it down into the sweet spot. So I actually have Cognizant among the companies that I watch. I know many of you do too. Why don't you go ahead and demonstrate the alert process for Cognizant, Kurt?
So now we've got alerts on companies. Well, perhaps less or more useful, I'm not sure which. We'll also be adding alerts for dashboards. But in this case, we'll add an alert. And we say, well, I like Cognizant, and I want to know if it leaves the sweet spot. So in this case, since it's already in the sweet spot, we'd need it to exit. Or I want to know if the quality suddenly drops. It's a fairly high quality company. Let's say if it drops below 90. And we'll submit that. And we've created it. We can view our existing alerts then. And we'll find a list of our alerts that we've created. Once you've created an alert, it will just sit there and wait. And every evening around 9 p.m., I go through the database of alerts and I check if any of these things have happened. So for Apple, we'll say it's outside the sweet spot right now. You know, I want to know when it gets back in there. And we'll send you an email if that occurs. You can go on to any of your alerts and edit them, changing the criteria and submitting that, and we'll be right back here. So now we've set one up for Cognizant. We want to know when it exits the sweet spot. and that'll happen. I don't have an example of what happens when one triggers, but there'll be a little icon over here in red, and you will need to edit your alert and change the criteria so that it's valid again and submit it before you'll be sent another email. This isn't something that will send you an email over and over and over again every night because it's exited the sweet spot. They can only trigger once, and then they need to be reset. So if we go back to our company, we'll now see edit alert instead of add alert. And you can always view any alerts from there.
And again, we're just getting started in this. Our motivation is to keep it dramatically simple, but at the same time powerful. And for years, and I mean this, for years I've wanted something based on the characteristics that we know are important at Manifest Investing. I mean, you can build an alert table at Schwab or Yahoo or whatever. You can't do it on expected returns or return forecasts or manifest quality. That's what we're giving you here. So, I mean, I've already seen fairly dramatic examples of I want Kurt to nudge me every time a stock that's on my pounce pile goes into the buy zone or the sweet spot, however you want to think of it. And it's already happened a few times, and we've only had this out there for a few weeks. So again, it's we're going to keep it simple, try to keep it very powerful. But wow, I mean, I'll be out with an article within a couple of days describing how I'm using this function to help me with my busy life, because that's what it really comes down to.
When I was working on this at the beginning, my thought was that I want to know when I actually need to come back and do some maintenance on one of my dashboards.
Yep.
I'd like to know when I left this last, the quality was high, the PAR was sufficient, my growth looked pretty good, my earnings stability was within a range that I'm happy with, and I'd like to set an alert that tells me when I need to come back and take another look at this dashboard. I don't view my dashboards every day. I don't look at my portfolios. I rarely watch prices change. I'll come back and take a look when I think I need to do something. So that nudge is why I'd like to make one of our next things that I work on alerts for a dashboard now that we've sort of done a proof of concept on alerts for companies. There's no reason why we can't add more features, more things that it checks. The proof of concept was mainly doing things that we find very, very important, the quality and the PAR. Any more questions, Mark?
Okay, let me just look down and see if we've got these covered okay. You doing okay?
Yep. My kids aren't banging on the door yet.
They're not. They're probably ready to play in the snow. Here's one that we can talk about a little bit. Don wants to know, where can I find how to do an equity analysis, and will you be doing another webinar on it? Well, second part first, yes, we will. We'll focus on that as a core feature. We're also going to be working, I don't think I'm letting too many cats out of bags, on a way to embed that in the company pages that you see, the type of stuff that you've seen in the Solomon Select features for the last few months. So we'll obviously be talking about how that's going to be deployed and how you will use it. I think it's going to be powerful. The other thing you could do, Kurt, is go to, again, site search, and if you search on the topic Eagle worksheet, I haven't tried this, but I'm pretty sure this will work. Okay, you can actually, and there you go. The very first article is on building a return forecast by Ken, and he's going to actually go through and demonstrate the use of the Eagle in its current form, those two columns side by side, talking about imagining the condition of your company 5 years out. So he went through and talked about fossil. And there's also webcasts. If you go further down those search results, you'll find other webcasts and other versions of that same type of topic. So you can dig in there, Don, and we will be going over this in much more detail also. There's a getting started column. Kurt's clicking on it now.
Oh, I'm not sure you actually added anything to this.
And sometimes you just have to click through and yeah, there's some old Eagles on there with Pepsi and that kind of stuff, including some of our spreadsheet stuff. So yes, we'll actually do an equity analysis workshop very soon. There's the old Excel version. Well, the questions log is pretty much clear, Kurt. We're at 50 minutes.
All right.
I think everybody wants to get to their weekend. I want to thank you for putting this on. We're going to try and do this on Saturday mornings in addition to the wide open microphone, open keyboard sessions that we do. We'll probably also add intra-week, Tuesday or Thursday night type sessions so we can catch some other people, because some people love Saturday mornings for doing something other than investing. But thanks for putting this on, Kurt, and thanks for all of you for taking time out to join and be with us. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to either nudge Kurt when he's on the site using what he showed you here today for instant feedback if he's online with you, or feel free to write to either one of us. It's Kurt K. at manifestinvesting.com or Mark R. at manifestinvesting.com.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, I'll stick around for a minute, Kurt, if you want. The recording has been shut down.
Okay.
So we'll be able to make that available to everybody.
John, yeah, we did record, and we'll be posting it probably within the day. It takes a little bit of manipulation on our end before we can upload it to YouTube.
If anybody else has any questions before you want to head out into your Saturday, we'll be happy to take them.
Well, if we do have any clubs left, or any club members, one of the features that I've worked along is trying to get a few more club-based features. We discussed it on the dashboard side, perhaps being able to add a dashboard that every member in your club has access to and can view, but no one else. So we'll be working on that shortly. One thing we have done is added the ability to make a group discussion board for a club or group of subscribers at Manifest Investing. So if your club might have any interest in that, let me know, and we'll test it out with you.
Cynthia's asking if there's any workshops on doing searches themselves. Cynthia, do you mean stock searches or site searches? People are thanking you, Kurt. Looking forward to the recording. Oh, stock searches. Well, one of our favorite all-time articles. Kurt, if you'll go into events and scroll down until you see the guy with the it's searching for stocks in all the right places is the name of it, and it's a couple years old, but it's still golden. There's a couple of features that Kurt's added here in the last couple of years, but the theme, it's going to be probably on the second page. It's the professor looking kind of guy. It's greeny. It's green. He's got a green shirt or whatever on. Third page.
I should probably make these searchable in some method.
Well, we can search for it the other way too. The name of it is Lillard, searching for stocks in all the right places. And as you're going through them, I'm still not seeing it. It can't be that long ago.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a while, Mark.
Yeah, I know.
And you said you probably have it on the forum then. Searching for stocks? No.
All right, I'm going to find the date. I've used it as an example of a workshop or I'm trying to search on searching for stocks in all the right places to see if that narrows it for me. Okay, it's actually the first forum post. If you do searching in all the right places.
Too late. I found it here.
You beat me to it. Okay.
5 pages down.
Dartboard guy.
Oh, I'm not getting a video for this one though, Mark. Why isn't it coming up?
I don't know.
It says it has a video.
That'll be something for you to fix. This is one of our more popular features. It demonstrates one of our top 2 features at the site. I'm actually at, let me see if it comes up on the YouTube under the forum post. Yep, the YouTube version is still available. That link right there, Kurt. Why don't you let people copy that link down? The YouTube one is still available, so Cynthia, if you want to copy down that link for YouTube.
This link up at the top might be a bit easier than, but feel free to give that a shot. I believe that is a 0 and not an O.
Guess we should probably do a refresher on that one too. Again, very popular webcast going way back, but it still covers the topic pretty well.
I'll have to take a look at why it's not working.
It was there recently, Kurt. I just pointed to it recently, so that's bizarre. We don't usually see stuff like that abate. I love the quote right below that. Don't miss this. It's worth way more than the price of admission. All right, the questions tab is clear.
Yep, we're about at an hour. I think that's enough for a Saturday morning, so thanks everyone again.
Thanks, Kurt. Take it easy, everybody. Have a good weekend.